Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. So today I want to, screw it, we're doing it. It just clicked, like, maybe I should wait till the Monday game's over. We're not, all right? I got my heart set on this thing. I want to look at where the Packers sit, rank, etc., according to all the things we can find. All right? We kind of did that a little bit when we looked at the players. It wasn't a great look because it was the Packers after 2 weeks compared to everybody in 1 week. But I want to look at not just the players, but also the team as a whole, with the team being kind of the priority. I want to see where some of the metrics say that we land. Obviously, I'm doing this because I'm assuming it's quite good. I don't know if I can't tell you if it's number one, number two, number three, what it is. But especially when you think about it from a DVOA standpoint and whatnot, the fact that we've played Detroit, the fact that we've played Washington, the fact that Detroit went on to do what they did to Chicago, I have a feeling that's going to boost their, what their offense is. You know what I mean? Which means that's going to boost our defense in terms of how good they're perceived as. So that's what we're going to do today. First off, some news and notes. ESPN's Adam Schefter has officially reported that Joe Burrow will need surgery and that he will be out a minimum of 3 months. There was some discussion about maybe they'll try to get him to tough it out, whatever. 3 months. That is, first of all, he will not be playing against us. So we will see a Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati team. You can never count a team out. Anything can happen any given Sunday. We all already know that. But on our path to wanting to dominate and by the end of the year have the best record, not only in the NFC North, but in the NFC, to hopefully get that number one seed and forge our path to what we hope is a Super Bowl season, something like this can absolutely help. And we know how it is. When you get to the end of the season, we're counting every win of every team and all the scenarios. And, well, if this team loses here and does this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, these things matter quite a bit. And obviously 3 months is that's basically it for the Cincinnati Bengals season, unless, Jake Browning? Unless he can come in and do some magic. But I don't even know if Joe Burrow had enough magic to get that team anywhere. So I borderline feel bad for Cincinnati on a side note. I feel like they drafted I'm not going to say generational, but a very top-tier quarterback. But between his injuries and just the defensive issues, the offensive line issues, they just have been sputtering like crazy. And it really feels like a complete waste of Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow it's kind of like Herbert in a way. I think Joe Burrow's probably better than Herbert, but it's in a different situation. This could have been very different. We'll see about Herbert. I mean, they got, did they play this week? I mean, yet? Or are they playing today, Monday? Don't remember hearing about them. Oh, yeah, Monday against Las Vegas. So they should be 2-0, would be my guess, although I've been saying very declarative things for several games. Dallas almost lost to the Giants, and on we go. New Orleans almost lost to San Francisco. We'll see, but Chargers might be for real. Anywho, Cooper Beebe. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that Cowboys center Cooper Beebe is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Look, if you're facing the Green Bay Packers, you better have a healthy offensive line. The Browns have offensive line issues. The Bengals have offensive line issues just in general and don't have a quarterback. Dallas now is without their center. These are the teams we're playing in the next couple weeks. Let me just take a quick peek here. I would say we'll see it when it comes, but I'm just too curious right now. So Cooper Beebe, you might remember him if you're doing all the draft stuff. He was a rookie in 2024. He was a third-round pick. He ended with grades in the 60s or whatever, obviously hoping for a big bounce in the next week. Against Philly, he actually did quite well and then got injured week 2, so I won't give him a ton of crap for being bad, although he looked like he was quite bad. But that was kind of the hope. Now, I don't know exactly where they're going to be at by the time they face the Packers, but the guy that came in for him was Brock Hoffman, who was a 2022 undrafted free agent. And he's actually played a decent amount of time for Dallas. I'm guessing they've had some serious injury issues that they've been working through that Brock has been out there. But he has played all over the place, 281 snaps at center, 452 at right guard, 19 at left guard. Not terrible. I mean, 60s across the board, low to mid 60s. But, obviously this is not a good development for the Dallas Cowboys. There just haven't been any good. I mean, Dallas is so screwed. I mean, it's similar to Chicago. I don't want to feel bad for them because it's Dallas. But it's one of those things where you sit back and look and you just go, man, this is such a mess. That's how you know you just got to blow the thing up. And it's kind of like that in Chicago, which is terrible because you just got a head coach and you just got your quarterback, and the last thing you want to do is blow it up. But their contracts and their roster, and it's just such a mishmash, Frankenstein pile of crap. Dallas is just ugh. I would hate to deal with that roster. And similarly, I mean, Dak is a good quarterback, and CeeDee's a good wide receiver, but it's just a joke over there. It's not even that they're a terrible roster. There's a lot of just bad teams, but it's one of those where it's like we're kind of like we're trying to be a really good team, and we're paying a bunch of money we're overpaying for guys, and there's just no way to get this current roster over the hump. That's where it's like we got to blow it up and start over a little bit because it's just we're not going to get there with this. Speaking of the Bears, more terrible news for them. We talked about Jalen Johnson going out. Don't have specifics, but ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson is out indefinitely with a groin injury. I'll read this little snippet here from NBC Sports. This isn't the news a defense ranking last in yards per attempt, 9.2, allowed through the first 2 weeks of the season wants to hear. Granted, most of that is just Detroit beating the crap out of them. Johnson, a Pro Bowl corner, is still undergoing further evaluations per Schefter, and the team is weighing whether or not surgery will be necessary to correct the issue. This is what we heard with Joe Burrow as well. And either way, it's a negative. You go under the knife, and you're going to be out for X amount of time. You need to recover from that surgery. If you don't, you're battling through this groin injury, which, by the way, is what he did in this game. He had a groin injury, he fought through it, and then this happened. You can do that again? Johnson was sidelined throughout all of training camp with a groin injury, so it wouldn't be surprising if this turns out to be something serious. We'll likely have a clear answer soon, but Johnson sounds like a virtual lock to miss Week 3's game against the Cowboys. And like I said, that is going to be brutal if and when they lose to the Cowboys, and I think that they will. We'll take a closer look when the time comes, but just based on how defeated Chicago is right now, I mean, there's opportunities. I don't think Dallas's defense is anything particularly wonderful. If the Giants can put up that many points, although Russell was kind of playing like crazy, but still. If Ben Johnson can get Caleb to, throw to the open guy and whatnot, I think there's opportunities. They're running hard. Swift looks about as good as I've ever seen him play. I mean, there's opportunities to not be a garbage football team here, but just brutal. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Steelers linebacker Alex Highsmith is not likely to be placed on IR. Now remember, we play the Steelers, so we'll have to also keep an eye on Alex Highsmith. It's like every bit of injury news directly impacts us. Unfortunately, some of it directly impacts us, like with Jaden Reed, but it just feels different when you feel like a powerhouse team and you look at a future opponent going, oh, we're going to be without this guy. It's like, well, you're screwed. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Chargers have placed linebacker Denzel Perryman, ankle on injured reserve. Doesn't impact us, but it's news. Saints defensive tackle Vernon Broughton is expected to miss the remainder of the season with a hip injury. Kyle Van Noy of Baltimore going to miss multiple games with a hamstring injury. He should be back by the time we play him, but injuries are just stacking up. Rams placing cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon on IR. And then as far as the Jets with his concussion situation, they're already talking about Tyrod Taylor or Tyrod or whatever, possibly taking that spot for next week if he doesn't clear. And we won't do it now. We're going to have to do a laughing at the Vikings thing, which is something we've very rarely done. It won't be today, but it's pretty brutal. I just popped on to check out some of the news, make sure I'm not missing anything big. I know about one thing for the Packers we got to talk about, but just going through some of the NFC North news, and it is all JJ McCarthy panic. And I think to some degree, rightly so. Like I said, week 1, I actually liked what I saw. He didn't have many opportunities to throw because he was just getting sacked 24/7. But when things calmed down in the fourth quarter, I mean, he was lightning strike in those passes. I mean, it was just boom, 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 accurate. This game, man, I don't know if the pressure just got to him. I mean, he was sacked like 900 times, especially when you go back to the Chicago game. He has been under frequent and consistent duress. Then you start getting the yips, you get up in your head or whatever. But it started early where you see him with time and he throws and it was like, well, there goes the accurate streak. And then that was a bad throw. And then, oh, that was a freaking ugly pick. And then he throws that moon ball, looked like a Caleb Williams shot down the field to just nowhere that ends up getting picked off. And you're like, oh, this is bad. This is, when you start doing that stuff, it's getting ugly. It's still very early, but as I've said about the Bears and about Caleb, I think it's important for us to pile on. It's not a very nice thing to do, but as much as we can whip up panic, then the fan base starts to get more and more panicked and unsettled and upset, and you know that the team hears it. They pretend that they don't, but they do. They hear the news media. They hear all this stuff. This is going to make it harder for JJ McCarthy to develop. I firmly believe that, especially with the Chicago quarterbacks. The fact that everybody is so down on them all the time. Well, not all the time. They're up on them more than anything, but within a couple weeks, it turns into panic. It turns into this is a disaster. Even if it's just the Bears are a disaster and everyone's defending the quarterback, nobody believes in them anymore. So the Vikings are kind of riding high, and the coach has such a great reputation. He can turn water into wine when it comes to quarterbacks. And now you look at it and go, I don't know, man. Maybe their quarterback last year was just good, and maybe this quarterback is just bad, and that's a huge difference. I don't know, but we're going to laugh about it. As far as some of the Packers stuff, we had a Matt LaFleur press conference. Talked about the fact that in the extra bit of time, he spent a lot of time reviewing the game. He said he'd watched it at least 5 times. He also got a jump on the Browns, which is obviously what you want to hear. As far as what he had to give to the team as far as improvements, obviously penalties, way too many. He talked about how we had points like on the first drive negated, touchdowns negated due to penalties and everything. Defense, he said, was good for 3 quarters, but you got to close it out, which I think is I appreciate that he says stuff like that. There was and I know these guys get all their egos and everything else, but there was a interview. Well, one was, Ben Johnson kind of doing it too, but there was a college coach, and the question was, I think they won, but their offense wasn't very good, and what about the offense? Essentially, was the question. He just lost it, and it's like you got to be able to, and I'm assuming he does when he talks to his team, but you got to be able to acknowledge the negative, and even with such an unbelievably dominant defensive performance, they did start to be able to move the ball at the end of the game. And you could say, well, it's garbage time and we changed our defense and all this stuff. It's great to hear from Matt LaFleur that not good enough. I want 4 quarters closed out. I think we all should want that. I think, kind of gets a little annoying to hear, we're playing differently and we're doing this and no. All right, fine, but it would be nice to not do that, I guess. I don't know. And then special teams, he basically just said is not good enough, period, across the board, which I think we all would agree with. I would say everything else was fine, but, our long snapper, once again, is one of the lowest graded, and I don't know how PFF grades them. I have no other way of judging our long snapper other than to say it didn't go sailing over his head, so I guess I'm happy enough that he is always one of the lowest graded on our team. Our kicker missed a field goal, which I don't want to give him too much crap about, but it happened. The returning is relatively non-existent. The penalties are completely out of control. I mean, the punter seems to be doing a good job. Otherwise, the special teams is a problem. It might be an exaggeration, but it is very frustrating. I don't think the coverage is very good. I know the punter's got a leg, but man, every time they punt to us, there's guys right in our face. Every time we punt, there's nobody on the television screen. And I'm looking at it like that was a great punt, but he's either out kicking his coverage every single time or our guys just cannot get down the field. So there's a lot of improvement needed because we've been playing from terrible field position disadvantages for 2 weeks, and that's got to stop. Take a quick break. We'll be right back. Continuing on, talked about Zach Tom. They said he could potentially come back on Sunday. That doesn't really mean much. He's obviously going to say maybe, no matter what. But he did say he's feeling a lot better than he did last week, so they're going to keep an eye on it. Same thing said about Aaron Banks. Only other Packers news that I saw is, once again, Easton Butler reporting the Bengals have made calls on Packers quarterback Malik Willis. Now, I think most Packer fans are of the mind that we don't ever want to sell our guys. I would just like to remind everybody that, generally speaking, that does end up working in our favor. However, when the Packers are on a run like they are, you talk Romeo Doubs, and already after that conversation we lose Jaden Reed. You can very easily get into a situation where it's very uncomfortable to not have them. And so I think it's on the table, but I also think when you're on a run like this, the asking price can and should be exceedingly high. Because if we lose Jordan, I mean, it's going to be tough to win with Malik either way. I know we did it a long time ago, although the last time we saw Malik, it really has not been very good, even including, last year against Chicago and everything. But you're putting your team in a disadvantageous situation here that could be pretty costly. So, I mean, look, if Jordan is out for a period of time in the regular season, I think the Packers are good enough that they're going to, unless it's a massive amount of time, they're good enough that they're going to have a good enough record to be in the playoffs either way. And I think if we lose Jordan in the playoffs, we're not going to make it through the playoffs. So, I mean, that's also, in my opinion, a reality. So it's maybe not as big as some people would make it out to be. Whereas there would have to be a very specific scenario where in one case we can win a Super Bowl and the other we can't, with and without Malik Willis. But I think that they should be entertaining these things, when you are a top dog and other teams are kind of struggling like this, see who's willing to overpay. Now, Dobbs may be off the table right now considering the injury situation. I don't know about Malik, but that's a big deal. I mean, if you're calling for our quarterback, you're calling for a starting quarterback, right? Which means you're going to pay starting quarterback prices. Maybe not elite starting. We're not getting multiple firsts or anything crazy, but we're not giving you this guy for a fourth. In fact, I'm not giving him to you for a third. I don't know what his asking price would be, but it would probably be a lot higher than what teams would be willing to pay, which is where it's like, well, you call me when you're desperate enough to overpay for the guy, because otherwise I'm not letting him go. Oh, wait a minute. What? Is this the real Adam Schefter? 11.6 million followers, I guess so. Vikings quarterback JJ McCarthy has been ruled out for Sunday's game versus the Bengals due to an ankle injury. Bro, at 1:30 on Monday, he's ruled out for next week? So it's going to be backup quarterback against backup quarterback? Man, the Vikings could fall to 1-2. I mean, that's rough. If you're a Vikings fan, you're looking at it going, this is tough, but we just got great news about Joe Burrow. Not for Joe, obviously. We feel terrible for him. But in terms of our ability to actually, because you're hopeful that he can develop as the season goes on, we just got to find ways to get wins here. We should pit the Vikings and the Bengals against each other. Like, boy, it's a big game for you guys, isn't it? One of you needs a quarterback. I wonder who wants it more. Yeah, I said I'd give him to the Vikings. You're going to pay for him, though. Well, that's pretty big news for the Vikings, and we'll see what that means going forward. The cynical part of my brain can't help but think, did he just get benched and the ankle thing is an excuse? Did they have a serious sit-down and thought, this guy's not ready, he needs more time to develop? And so, he came in, like, kind of limping. They're like, what's up, dude? And he's like, it's just a little ankle thing. I'll be all right. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. That looks pretty bad. Is it swollen? Like, no, it's just, I can see it from here. That's pretty swollen. You better go see the doctor. Get on the phone with the doctor. You shut him down. You understand me? Oh, and there's some more news. Bears all-pro cornerback Jalen Johnson likely to miss the rest of the regular season. Man, Green Bay, I'm telling you, man. I think usually the way this used to work, aside from the last 2 or so years, is that the Packers were a good team and they had one team that they competed with. I would say more often than not it was the Vikings. Occasionally it was the Bears. It was never the Lions. It feels like this year is going to be one of those years, except it is going to be the Lions. I think the Lions are going to compete. I think they're going to be good enough to, be a concern. The Vikings and Bears might already be cooked, man. Unless they can come up with something, again, shut down JJ, put in a guy that can execute the offense well enough, get your offensive line fixed, because that's a disaster. Maybe. But boy, oh boy, those are big pieces of news there in the last couple seconds. I got to get off Twitter here because I got to stop seeing more news so we can do what we're supposed to be doing. All right, let's do this. We'll start with PFF. Just as far as overall, I don't usually look at these, but we'll do it because I want to. Looking at the overall grades right now, and again, I believe the way they do this is just a like looking at your roster and how well everybody on your roster is graded, which could be kind of like a who has the most loaded roster metric, but it also doesn't correct for opponent and whatnot. The Green Bay Packers, I think for the first time probably since 2020, are actually the number one team right now. It's the Packers at an 86.8. The Rams are number two with an 85.6. Then it's a decent drop-off down to Baltimore at 81.6, and then down to the Colts, number 4, which is one of the funnier storylines so far this year, at a 78. Overall offensive grade, the Packers are number 2 behind the Rams. Passing, the Packers are 4th. That's basically a quarterback grade. Run blocking, the Packers are 7th, believe it or not. There's only 5 teams, could call it 6 if we round up 69.9. 6 teams with a 70 or higher grade, so it's not a thing a lot of teams do well. But the Packers are actually 7th. Oh, I'm sorry, that's pass blocking. I'm an idiot. That's pass blocking. Receiving, the Packers number 1. That one surprises me a bit. It shouldn't. We went over the grades, and everybody's elite. Running is 14th. Again, not super shocking, all things considered. Run blocking, the Packers 20th. Definitely not surprising. Defensive grade, the Packers are 4th. That one probably annoys some people, but it probably shouldn't. Interesting little sub-note here. The 0-2 Cleveland Browns are the highest graded defense. Probably a lot of that is Myles Garrett. Run defense, Cleveland number 1, Packers 17th. That would be the biggest reason why. Tackling is another one. The Packers rank 22nd. Pass rush, the Packers are 9th. Again, annoying. Statistically, I'm sure they're great, but the grades are whatever. Coverage is where the Packers are number 1, 78.8. Baltimore's number 2 at a 77. Special teams actually 7th. I don't know what we're talking about here. What are we even talking about? That must be the punter-kicker thing. Although it's not. Usually that's... I don't know. Who freaking knows? Whatever. Let's quickly run through the positions here on PFF and see where everybody is at after the 2 weeks. I think I'm going to filter a little bit more. Or maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. Right now, overall grade, Jordan Love is the 4th highest graded quarterback. He is behind Matt Stafford, who has looked actually very good. He's got a 92 PFF grade. Dak Prescott, who's looked good, at a 90. Sam Darnold in Seattle. Like I said, was it Minnesota, or was Sam Darnold just having his breakout finally? Well, he's the 3rd highest graded quarterback with an 89 grade, and then Jordan Love with an 87, which is incredibly high. He's just ahead of Josh Allen, to give you an idea of how good of a start he's having. Passing grade, he's also 4th, exact same 4 in order, same 5 with Josh Allen at 5. Big time throw rate, he is 2nd behind Matt Stafford and barely, 10.5%, Matt Stafford 10.6%. It's a big drop off down to Dak Prescott at 9.4%. So Jordan Love is playing freaking lights out with that. Turnover worthy play percentage, Jordan is 18th. That's out of 25 quarterbacks. Again, I filtered it pretty heavily. 18th out of 25. Obviously, that week 1 where he threw the 2 picks, basically. Those are his only 2, by the way. But that's going to hurt your percentage, especially with just 2 games in. Adjusted completion rate, he's 10th, which is pretty high for Jordan. If he can be top 10 in accuracy, that's a massive development, especially when he throws as deep as he does. Right? I mean, he's throwing harder passes and is still top 10 in accuracy. That's a big jump for Jordan, who has never been That's never been like his main asset is accuracy. Drop rate, the Packers are 10th best, which is a wide receiver stat, essentially. That's fantastic. What else we got here? Time to throw. He is 21st. He's actually at 3.01, so he's been holding the ball a lot more than usual, which is a little surprising. I suppose getting his legs back has kind of caused him to try a little bit of extra stuff. Caleb Williams holding the ball the longest. Shock of the century. JJ McCarthy, third longest. So, and Jordan is the fifth longest. So three of them are right there, which isn't great. Jordan Love, third highest passer rating at 120 behind Goff and Lamar. Very unusual for Jordan. He is the 9th most pressured quarterback at 38.6%. Again, as I said the other day, and maybe you didn't hear it because it was on Packernet After Dark if you don't listen, but he is the second most blitzed quarterback. 49% of the time he's been blitzed. Daniel Jones at 66%, which is just psychotic. But yeah, he's been blitzed a ton, and as a result, it is led to obviously a lot higher pressure rate. And Jordan Love is obviously handling it quite well. He is the 11th highest graded quarterback under pressure. He is the 8th highest graded passing grade under pressure. So no doubt that's going to be something that the Packers are going to try to do, is to get them to back off, because it's just, it causes problems. And if a team just can tee off on you, you got to be able to make them pay. I don't exactly know why they're doing it so much. I don't really understand that. I mean, presumably they feel like this is the best way to play the Packers. I'm just wondering why that is, I guess. I'm guessing it's a belief that Jordan can't handle it, but so far he's handled it. It could just be a fluky thing where this is just what they do a lot. They blitz a ton. I think Washington, we already talked about, did that. So it could just be kind of a fluky deal that's going to naturally come down, which is going to be great for Jordan, obviously. When the pressure rate comes down, he has more time in the pocket. He's obviously going to massively improve, even above and beyond what we're seeing so far. Be interested to find out when we deep dive into Cleveland. I'm guessing they're not a big blitzing team because they have Myles Garrett. Most teams, if they don't have to, they don't want to blitz. But that doesn't mean the pressures come down necessarily. Let's flip over to receiving. I'm going to bring the filter down a little bit so we can include a couple people that wouldn't be on it otherwise. Again, unfortunate because Jayden Reed is going to be out. He is the third highest graded receiver through 2 weeks with a 90 PFF grade, 87 receiving grade. Year 3 for a guy who broke, rookie receiving records for the Packers. Jayden Reed hasn't been a perfect receiver, but he has been probably an underrated receiver for us. Very small sample size through 2 weeks, but incredible start for him. Dontavian Wicks is the 13th highest graded receiver with an 81 PFF grade, 82 receiving grade. We'll look at receiving grades in a minute. Actually, you know what? I got tight ends included in here. Let me get rid of that and see what that changes. Jayden Reed, 3rd. Dontavian Wicks, 9th. 2 top 10 receivers were down to 1 with Jayden Reed being out, unfortunately, but it speaks very highly of Wicks and our hope that maybe he can kind of take that big step we've been hoping for. But even Romeo Doubs. Remember before where it was like we don't have 3 number 1s. We maybe have 3 number 2s, probably some 3s mixed in. Right now we have 3, including Reed, number 1s, with Romeo Doubs coming in 29th. And yes, this is how I would generally look at it. You need to be a top 32 receiver. It's just a question of how you do it. I think this is a fair way to do it. 29th, 71 receiving grade, 71 grade, 70 receiving grade. Golden's not going to be in here. He got a bad grade last week again because of the 2 frickin' plays where if Jordan throws it better, he probably would have had 2 touchdowns, but whatever. Looking at receiving grade, Jayden Reed 3rd, Dontavian Wicks 7th. We have almost 2 top 5 receivers. That's ridiculous. Romeo Doubs 31st, so it stays in that range. Looking at yards per route run, Jayden Reed is 7th. Dontavian Wicks is 16th. Romeo Doubs is 21st. Switching over to tight ends. Looking at overall grade, Tucker Kraft is the 4th highest overall graded tight end with an 80. Musgrave isn't on here. I'm guessing he's just being filtered out because he hasn't played enough. if you look at receiving grade, Tucker Kraft is number 1 in the NFL. George Kittle only played the 1 week. Michael Mayer plays on Monday, so those are the two guys kind of nipping at his heels. Kittle is not going to be able to catch up on IR. We'll see what Michael Mayer does, but he's got a ways to go. He's got an 83 receiving grade compared to Tucker Kraft's 90. If we remove the filters here, Luke Musgrave is the 5th highest receiving grade. And the filters only go to snap counts, but when you look at, for example, like George Kittle, he has 4 targets, 4 receptions. Luke Musgrave has 3 targets, 3 receptions. So, call it a small sample size, fine, then get George Kittle off the list too. Get Michael Mayer, who has 4 targets, 4 receptions, 38 yards. Luke, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 36 yards. I mean, they're right there next to each other. So, Tucker Kraft tied for 10th in targets. There's a lot of targets to tight ends, apparently. He is tied for 11th in receptions with 8, but he is 2nd in yards behind only Tyler Warren, which is the rookie that the Bears decided not to draft. Tyler Warren, number 1 in yards at 155. Tucker Kraft at 140, 1 yard ahead of Trey McBride. He is tied for number 1 in touchdowns with Zach Ertz and Davis Allen with 2 touchdowns. Looking at yards per route run, Luke Musgrave is 4th, Tucker Kraft is 5th. Musgrave 3.6 yards per route run, which is incredible. He's only run 10 routes. He's been on the field for 16 passing plays, and it says he's run 10 routes, as if I'm reading this right, and has 36 yards. That's pretty fantastic. Tucker Kraft, 58 plays, 46 routes, 140 yards, 3.04 yards per route run. Both of them being over 3 is remarkable. Brock Bowers at 3.96, who's played, again, 1 game, so we'll see. Tyler Conklin also only played 1 game so far for the Chargers at 4.17. And then Jackson Hawes for Buffalo, who's only run 5 routes, so that probably we'll see. But I'm just saying, man, don't count out Luke yet. Let's give him a minute here. He's off to a fantastic start. All right, let's take a break. Try to rip through some more of these. We'll see how far we get. We might have to save some for tomorrow, but we'll take a look at running back in a minute here. So obviously the run game has really struggled to get going. Right now, Josh Jacobs ranks 28th with a 62 grade. His rushing grade, though, is 11th. So they're still obviously seeing that he's running the ball as well as he possibly can. He is behind only so far Bijan, Tyrone Tracy, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, Devon Achane, Jordan Mason, Cam Scattaboo, which is a hilarious storyline and kind of just an awesome guy in the draft that comes out and is everything everybody wanted him to be. Kenneth Walker, and then Bill is number 1 for Washington. But we'll see. Some of these guys are newer, and a lot of their grades are based on, like Bill, Jacory, Krosky, Merritt. He obviously was nowhere near as good as he was in week 1, so that may begin to come down. Let's see about Cam, if he's kind of in the same boat. Yeah, so he had a bad rushing grade week 1 against Dallas and then blew up week 2. So some of these guys are probably going to start to drift down as Josh Jacobs at least maintains and probably will continue to climb in terms of the amount of yards or the grades and whatnot that he gets, even only getting 3.6 yards per carry because we lean so heavily on him. He's 8th in yards already with 150. He has 2 touchdowns, which is only 2 guys have more than that, James Cook and Javonte Williams. So, again, once teams start to back off, loading the box and bringing so many blitzes and all that kind of stuff, we're going to not only see Jordan have a little bit more comfort in the pocket and be able to do what he can do, I think we're going to see the run game start to pick up a little bit and Josh Jacobs run wild. But that assumes that actually does take a step. We'll see. Offensive line, Rasheed Walker ranks 23rd. It looks like Zach Tom is not even going to make the cut here. having not played last week. Darian Kennard ranks 30th as a tackle. Anthony Belton 36th. Even that is not terrible out of however many. Looking specifically at pass blocking, Rashid 23rd, Belton 29th, Kennard 49th, so he's more of a run blocker, which makes sense. I feel like he's been doing pretty good at that. I feel good about Belton being ranked 29th in pass blocking. At guard, overall, Sean Ryan is 19th, which, I mean, look, there's only 10 guys with a 70 or higher grade, so there's not a lot of good offensive linemen out there, apparently, compared to the defensive line. But Sean Ryan does rank 19th, so take solace and some level of joy in that, I suppose. Looking at pass blocking, Jordan Morgan is actually 16th. Again, the run blocking, as per usual, is terrible. It's a 42 grade so far, but a 72 pass blocking grade. So if you can get the run blocking fixed a little bit. And remember, I mean, as frustrated as people want to be about stuff, Jordan Morgan, I feel bad for the guy, because he can't just get a single job. Last year we put him at right guard. This year we decided he's going to be a left tackle. Then we lose our left guard and we have to slot him into left guard all of a sudden. Like, this is not just something easy that you can just slap anybody in there and tell him to go do it. He hasn't really been playing much left guard. Some, but not very much at all. Aaron Banks ranking 31st in pass blocking with a 40 run blocking grade. I mean, Banks has just been, in a very small sample size, has been pretty awful, which I was afraid of. And then at center overall, we've got Elton Jenkins ranks 12th with a 69 grade. Pass blocking, he ranks 15th with a 65. And run blocking, he ranks 12th with a 68. So one good thing about Elton Jenkins is he's one of the few offensive linemen we have that's well-rounded. We need these grades to come up overall, but he's not so one-sided that it's, he's great at one thing and terrible at the other. If it's a pass play, he can pass block. If it's a run play, he can run block. Zach Tom can do that. That might be it for our team so far. We'll have to see. All right, defense through 2 weeks. Devontae Wyatt, as far as overall grade, ranks 15th among defensive tackles with a 76 PFF grade. Colby Wooden ranks 40th, which, even that, you figure, for a number 2 defensive tackle, you're kind of a top-end number 2. I'm completely fine with that. Run defense, as would be expected, is not anybody's super strength. Colby Wooden is our top run defender. He ranks 53rd. Devontae Wyatt ranks 61st. And Carl Brooks is 96th. He is definitely not a run defender. Never has been his thing. Tackling, again, something else that PFF has been digging us for. Wyatt is our top guy, ranking 30th with a 71 grade, which is actually great for him. That was kind of one of his not strengths, was run defense and tackling, so good on him for that. Colby Wooden ranks 86th. Carl Brooks 94th. So the tackling is an issue. But pass rush is obviously where this team has been at its best. Devontae Wyatt with the 7th highest graded pass rush grade among all defensive tackles. And we'll get to the stats, but he is actually number 1 among defensive tackles and pressures, which is unbelievable through 2 weeks. Zach Harrison in Atlanta, Milton Williams, and however you say his first name, the Tonga guy in New England, both of them with pass rush grades are higher. Ukuale in Pittsburgh, Jeffrey Simmons, and Malik Collins are the only ones with higher pass rush grades than Wyatt. Then you have Colby Wooden, 42nd as far as pass rush grade, and then Carl Brooks, 99th. So Brooks is not off to a fantastic start kind of across the board. And again, looking at totals here, Devontae Wyatt, number 1 in the NFL with 11 pressures. Madubuike in Baltimore has 10. Jeffrey Simmons has 10. And Madubuike has 2 sacks also. So nobody has more sacks. So he is tied for number 1 in sacks with 2. He is number 1 in the NFL in pressures with 11. Just a phenomenal thing for Wyatt to finally be able to, and we'll see how it goes. He could fall off, whatever. But to finally get that production that we've been wanting, that we've been hoping for from Wyatt, who has all the talent in the world to finally get there, to be seeing it through 2 weeks is super exciting. Carl Brooks tied for 29th with his 4 pressures, but also has a sack, so put him near the top of that list. Some of the more advanced pass rush stuff in terms of pass rush productivity, he is 9th. The only reason would be because he has had so many snaps. So Ed Oliver's number 1. He has 4 pressures and 1 sack, but he's only had 18 pass rush opportunities. But still, 9th best in that metric. He is 13th best in win rate. If we look at true pass sets, he is the 3rd highest graded pass rusher with an 86.7 grade. He is number 2 in pressures with 8 and 1 sack. His pass rush productivity ranks 16th, and his win rate ranks 9th when we're talking true pass sets. Moving on to edge rushers here. Right out of the gate, even though they screwed him week 1, Micah Parsons is the 6th highest graded edge rusher in the NFL. We still have Latu in Indy that has not been graded. Will Anderson in Houston. I guess that game has not been graded yet. I don't know what's up with that. Or maybe they didn't play. They get hurt? I don't know. But an 89.8 grade. Then we got to come all the way down here because their grading is stupid. Rashawn Gary, 63rd. Kingsley, 64th. Lucas Van Ness, 68th. Whatever. In terms of run defense, you've got Rashawn Gary ranks 24th. Van Ness, 30th. Again, I love that those guys step up as run defenders. Micah is 67th. Kingsley is 72nd. Pass rush grades. I don't know why it keeps going to the bottom. Micah Parsons is the 5th highest behind Josh Uche, Trey Hendrickson, Nick Bonito, and Joey Bosa. And it is very close. I mean, it is 90.2 compared to 90.4, 90.6, 90.7, and then Bosa has 92.7 is the only one that kind of stands out there. Kingsley Enagbare is our next highest graded pass rusher, which I think is just psychotic. I just don't understand this. But 70th, Rashawn Gary 80th, and Lucas Van Ness 92nd or something stupid. Looking at the actual stats, Micah Parsons is 6th with 10 pressures. Rashawn Gary is tied for 10th with 9 pressures, but his pass rush is no good apparently. Micah Parsons is tied for, the 3rd highest number of sacks, which is 2. He is tied with Rashawn Gary with 2, Lucas Van Ness with 1, which is tied in 15th. Pass rush productivity, Micah Parsons is 20th, Rashawn Gary 28th, Lucas Van Ness 52nd. Win rate, Micah Parsons is 9th, Rashawn Gary 51st. It's not very good. How is that possible, though? He has a 13.5% pressure rate, and they're saying he has a 12.5% win rate. So he has pressures where he didn't beat the tackle? I don't even know what you're talking about at this point. I'm ready to go full-blown conspiracy that there are some, just Bears fans that are in charge of this thing and just are completely botching this for the Packers. Because that doesn't even make sense. More pressures than wins. Okay, if you say so. Micah Parsons is the 6th highest in terms of pass rush grade with true pass sets. Let's flip over to linebacker here real quick. Overall grades for linebackers. Edgerrin Cooper, they have 24th. Quay, 41st. Again, give me a freaking break. They do have Edgerrin Cooper 4th in pass rush. The biggest knock they have against him seems to be tackling. Again, whatever. He is 4th in the NFL in stops with 10, behind only Bobby Wagner, Nate Landman, and Tyrell Dodson in Miami. Let's go straight to corner because that just annoys me. As of right now, Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon are both top 5 corners. Carrington Valentine with a 79 overall grade is the 4th highest graded corner. Keyshawn Nixon is tied with Sauce Gardner for the number 1 corner in football. I don't necessarily assume that's going to stay that way, but that's still wild. Nate Hobbs, by the way, ranks 19th. That would be 3 top 20 corners. Crazy. And then looking at coverage, Keyshawn Nixon is number 1 by himself ahead of Sauce Gardner. Carrington with an 88 grade. Carrington Valentine, 82 PFF grade, ranks 5th. Nate Hobbs, 21st with a 71.5 grade. So, yeah, I think the corners are doing just fine. Javon Bullard also in the mix, even though they hate him and give him bad grades. He is the second most stops of any corner in the NFL with 7. Keyshawn tied with Will Johnson for the most pass breakups with 4, even though I think, like I said, Next Gen Stats, I thought it put him at 5. Looking at safeties, Evan Williams, 5th highest graded safety in the NFL behind Cam Bynum, Xavier Woods, Brian Branch, and Kyle Hamilton. That's pretty incredible stuff. Run defense, they've given him the 16th highest grade with a 76. Coverage, they have him the 5th highest graded cover corner with a 78.5. Tied for the second most amount of interceptions with 1. Only Cam Bynum and Jordan Battle have 2. So the DBs are, at least if you were to ask PFF, the strength of our team right now. Again, I think that's because the quarterbacks are throwing the ball in 0.2 seconds, which I guess could make the pass rush seem not as good as it is. I don't know. By the way, Easton Butler offering some, I tracked this down in the comments anyways. Apparently in regard to Malik, teams called and offered. Green Bay just flat out said no as far as Malik. The offer, he said, I can't say at the moment. Let's just say nobody has offered a 4th or better. So that's obviously why the Packers hung up immediately. That's stupid. Bengals calling, hoping we just hate the guy or something. Like, yeah, you got a backup over there that you want to give us? I don't even know who you have. Probably somebody stupid. But we'll give you a 5th if you want. Bro, shut up. Get off my phone. I'm going to start billing you for these stupid freaking calls. All right, well, I mean, the news just keeps on flying here. Apparently, Jaden Daniels is also injured now. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels, who underwent an MRI following the loss to the Packers, was diagnosed with a sprained knee, per me and Mike Garafolo. Not a long-term injury, but Daniels' status this week versus the Raiders is in doubt. So another NFC competitor. I mean, the Raiders are presumably not going to be a very good team this year. They could potentially drop one to what should have been kind of an auto dub. JJ Leahy bringing up the point that it very likely was that Bullard hit that he took when he was running for his life to get away from Micah Parsons, and Bullard took him out, and you saw him do a front flip. And, I mean, when you get hit in and around the knee area and end up doing a front flip, you know that's a hard hit to the legs. It's almost hard to imagine that your knee didn't get a little tweaked from something like that. It would have snapped my leg in half. But all right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. I've been playing with some different songs. I haven't been giving you any music lately, and I apologize for that. I actually I started creating. I know I said I was going to do it for you, and I'm working on getting those over on Spotify and whatnot, but I actually have a little MP3 player that I've decided to just keep connected to my. It's actually just a headset that's got a built-in MP3 player, but I just got my headset plugged into my computer, and anytime a song comes along that I like, just drag and drop her right in there. So I've just been creating a bunch of different music. But I should do a JJ McCarthy song. That'll have to be next. Maybe even last night. Maybe you already heard it. I don't know, because I haven't done Packnet After Dark yet. But I did do a Caleb song. It kind of just came up organically. I was doing a little bit of research into like diss songs, and I was actually having the robot do it for me. But how they're formulated and how they work and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, why don't you just take this information and make a song about Caleb? So I was playing with that and some different musical styles, and I kind of like this one. It's always hard to pick one, but let's go with this one. Here is what is the name of the thing? Packernet Studios original, No Crown. You have a good one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Chicago, one of the king. They got a clown. Let's go.
You ain't the savior, you ain't the king.
Paint your nails, but can't paint rings. No crown, no throne, no seat at the table. Chi-Town Messiah, that's Cain without Abel. Kayla, they call you chosen, I call you hype. TikTok, QB, commercials for Sprite. Flash on the gram, but the game too slow. That Soldier Field turf gon' eat you whole. You more USC than NFC. Highlight reels, no legacy. The city prayed for a quarterback star, but all they got was a rental car. You ain't the savior, you ain't the king. Paint your nails, but can't paint rings. No crown, no throne, no seat at the table. Chi-Town Messiah, that's Cain without Abel. You thought you pick your team like it's recess time, the league picked you. Now I'm writing this rhyme, nails painted pink, but the pocket awareness pale. Hollywood shine, but Chicago stale. Overthrow wide outs by 20 feet. Even pigeons run routes in the nosebleed seats. Mahomes wanna be, nah, Manziel clone. Netflix QB, not a legend at home. Walter Payton weeps, Soldier Field cries. The Bears curse lives, you just televise. You a draft day darling, I'm the proven vet. Rookie mistakes, man, that's all we get. You ain't the savior, you ain't the king. Paint your nails, but can't paint rings. No crown, no throne, no seat at the table. Chi-Town Messiah, that's Cain without Abel. Defense blitz, you fold like a chair. When I spit, it's ether, smoke fills the air. You a myth, a story, a scam in disguise. Another first pick feeding Chicago lies. Yeah, you wanted a crown, but you ain't that tough. City of broad shoulders says enough's enough. The windy city cold and the throne stays empty. No crown for Caleb, just failure aplenty. Yeah, Chicago been cursed, but it ain't me. It's you, no crown.